Hello everyone. Today we are going to study about provisions for minorities, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and Anglo-Indians. For realization of the objectives of equality and justice, the Constitution pays special attention to the advancement of the socially and economically backward sections and contains a number of provisions which seek to protect the interests of the minorities, religious, linguistic, cultural, etc. Provisions for minorities. The Constitution gives citizens possessing a distinct language, script, or culture the right to conserve the same. Children of linguistic minorities are to be given instructions through their mother tongue at the primary stage. No persons can be denied admission to educational institutions maintained by states or receiving aid from states on grounds of religion, race, caste, language, etc. All minorities based on religion or language have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. Minorities can impart instructions to children of their community in their own language. No discrimination is made in matter of employment on grounds of race, religion, or caste. For the protection of minorities, a Minorities Commission was set up by the Junta government in January 1979, which was given a statutory status under the National Commission for Minorities Act 1992. The commission comprises of a chairman, a vice chairman, and four members 2006 and is expected to evaluate the working of various safeguards provided in the Constitution for protection of minorities. It can make recommendations for an effective implementation and enforcement of all the safeguards and laws. It undertakes review of the implementation of the policies formulated by the union and state governments with regard to minorities. It looks into specific complaints regarding deprivation of rights and safeguards of minorities and conducts research and analysis on the question of discrimination against minorities. The Commission serves as a clearinghouse for information in respect to condition of minorities and makes periodical recommendations to the government. Provisions for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and backward classes. For the protection of and promotion of interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, the Constitution makes the following provisions. It requires the government to take special measures for the advancement of the interests of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. For this purpose, the government can impose special restrictions to protect their rights. Seats have been reserved for members of scheduled caste and tribes in public services and legislatures until 2020 95th Amendment. There is a provision for the organization of the National Commission for Scheduled Castes 89th Amendment 2003 and a separate one called the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes 89th Amendment 2003. These commissions investigate matters relating to safeguards, provide to these classes and reports on the working of these safeguards to the president. The union government provides special grant and aid of states for meeting the cost of welfare scheme for the scheduled tribes and raising the level of administration in scheduled areas. The state of Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Orissa are obliged to appoint a separate minister to look after the welfare of scheduled castes and backward classes. States are expected to pay special attention to the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections to prevent their exploitation. Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 give to the scheduled tribes special administrative, financial, and other facilities. Provision for Anglo-Indians for the protection of the interests of the Anglo-Indian community. The Constitution makes the following provisions. The President can nominate not more than two members of the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. If it does not get adequate representation in the normal course, at the level of the state, the governor can nominate one member of the Anglo-Indian community to the state legislature. For the first few years of the promulgation of the Constitution, special grants were provided for the benefit of members of the Anglo-Indian community, and certain posts were reserved for them in railways, customs, and postal and telegraph services. It may be noted that these provisions for the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other weaker sections are of a purely temporary nature and shall cease to operate as soon as members of these sections shall attain parity with the rest of population.